Something is happening in Pennsylvania politics. It's going to affect the entire nation. We're going to talk about that today. In just a moment, we're going to welcome in our guest. But before we do that, just want to ask you, like this video, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Head on over to ourwatch.com. Love for you to subscribe, become one of our watchmen. Really appreciate that. But let's get right into what's happening in Pennsylvania. To talk to us about that, we have Toni Shuppe on the line. Toni, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Really good. I appreciate you coming on and want to talk to you. Well, for our audience that may not be familiar with Pennsylvania politics, just tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I'm the CEO of an election integrity organization called Audit the Vote PA. We started in February of 2021 with a petition for a full forensic audit of the 2020 presidential election because we realized something went horribly awry. And we've uncovered a ton of stuff since, found out that most of the people that are in charge that can do something about the issues don't necessarily want to do anything about the issues. And so now we're just at the grassroots level trying to get people activated at the county. And this fix is going to have to be local. That's our focus.
So what's going on with that? How are you guys progressing with it?
It's slow, but good. More and more people, I think with the presidential election on the horizon, more people are getting engaged. I think after the 2022 midterms, we just saw kind of a slump, everybody expecting the red wave that we didn't get. And a lot of people that were actively participating, patriots, just needed to take a breather. But we're now seeing a resurgence of activity. And I'm going around in as many counties as I can and trying to help people form a task force that will get into the weeds of what's going on in their own county election integrity wise, because really and truly with how corrupt everything is nowadays, that's the only path that I really see for change.
So what's your take on Governor Shapiros' forming of an election security task force?
That's a great question. Well, if Governor Shapiro really wants election security / integrity like he claims to in the Commonwealth, the one thing that's missing from his task force is the idea of transparency. And the only way that we're going to get transparency and for the people to trust the outcome of elections, again, which is where we're struggling right now, Pennsylvania, you can't deny, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that over half of the population in our state doesn't trust the election process and therefore won't trust the outcome. So the way to restore that is through full transparency. So we're going to request from the governor that he allow a hand count of all paper ballots, even if it's just the presidential race, prior to certification of the vote. And if his security task force, if he really cares about election integrity like he's claiming to, that should be no problem.
Yeah, it should be no problem. We all know that there were issues with the last one in 2020. Talk to us, if you would, about some of the irregularities that were found to be true.
From 2020 or since then? Because there's
both.
Running list.
Yeah, both, if you would.
Well, the story in 2020, we went to bed on November 3rd. Obviously, President Trump is up by 700,000 votes. We wake up November 4th, the margin is drastically reduced. By the end of the week, on Friday, Pennsylvania was officially called once Delaware County reported their final results. President Trump was leading by 7,000 votes. And when Delaware County called in their results, all of a sudden, Joe Biden went to 80,555 votes. The biggest challenge with that still to date is that there are more ballots on record, paper ballots having been cast on record, than there are participating voters in the election. Now, that gets confused a lot. And if we had an honest media, the public would have a better understanding of that. But since we don't, I'm thankful for folks like you that are willing to help us get the word out about that. We don't have more registered votes than actual registered voters. So people get that confused. They go, wait, how is that possible? So Pennsylvania's population is about 12 million. We have 9 million registered voters, and there were 6.9 million votes certified in the 2020 election. The only problem is we have just over 7 million paper ballots on record being counted. So when you have more paper ballots than you have voters who participated on election day, I don't know how in the world you can say that you had a completely free and fair election. Now, you couple that with all the data that we dug into and finding mail-in ballots that got counted that came back the same day that they were requested. And my organization did a canvassing effort on the ground starting in the summer of 2021 and finishing early in 2022, where we knocked on doors in 12 different counties, asked 3 questions. Did you vote in 2020? How many people are registered to vote at your address to the best of your knowledge? And how many of those voted in 2020 that you're aware of? And the discrepancies are massive. The worst we found was Allegheny County with a 78% discrepancy rate. And what that means is 78% of the time, one of the answers to those three questions doesn't match what the state certified as the result. And you go down the line, the cleanest county that we found was Lancaster. And even Lancaster, which is a red county, had a 37% discrepancy rate. So best case scenario, a third of the time, either the vote count doesn't match, or the registered voters doesn't match, or the person at the door in some cases said they didn't vote, but there was a ballot cast for them. And we have signed affidavits essentially in every county across the state with people who that's what we found when we knocked on the door. So all of that to say that the public has completely lost faith and trust in the process. And unless we get back to transparency, I don't see us restoring that. The most recent thing that we found this past election cycle, November 7th, 2023, was issues with our reporting website. So when you go to the State Department's actual website, Pennsylvania Election Returns, our data guy wrote a program that scrubbed the results on election night starting at 8 p.m., which is when you can legally report the results. So the polls close and counties start closing everything up and getting ballots and USB sticks back to the central count center so that the results can be uploaded. At 9:46 p.m. at night, we saw votes being removed, 350,000 votes being removed from one of our Supreme Court judge races to the tune of 350,000 in-person votes were taken away from their total. So right now we're trying to figure out how that could have happened. Could there be a legitimate reason for that? It took us a week just to get our GOP to make any movement on it, to acknowledge it. We reached out to the campaign right away. They didn't want to touch it. So, I mean, it's a battle we are in, but we're uncovering and learning more every day, and we're applying the things that we're learning in situations like that to figure out how on the ground can we mitigate that for 2024 so that the public can have some trust in the outcome.
You say it's a battle that we're in. I agree with you. I see this as a spiritual battle that we're in. Do you see it somewhat in the same way?
Completely. Absolutely.
What are some of the spiritual elements you've seen to this?
Well, I think we're in a battle of good versus evil. In fact, funny you mentioned the spiritual side of it, because in addition to Audit the Vote, which is my own nonprofit I'm a CEO of, or grassroots, I don't get paid for that one. I work now for a company called Patriot Academy out of Texas, and they have biblically based education. I've been a Constitution coach, what's called a Constitution coach with them now for over 3 years. And I host what's called Biblical Citizenship in Modern America classes. I'm wrapping one up right now. And it's very clear that our country was founded, once you actually study the original sources and historical documents, it's very clear that we were founded on biblically based principles. And so I have no doubt that we are under attack. I think you're better off reading the book of Revelations if you want to know what's happening today than you are checking any of the real news sources. So yes, the battle is good versus evil. And the good news is we know how the book ends. So we just got to walk out the middle in faith.
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. The book of Revelation is something people really need to be opening right now. And, there's a lot of people that believe in the book of Revelation. They believe that we're coming into those end times, and they'll take that as an opportunity to sit on the couch and do nothing. They'll say, if we're coming to the end, then we might as well just we'll just give up. And I think that's weak. I think that that Christians need to stand up. They need to be the salt and the light that God's called them to be. Salt is a preserving agent. And salt stings a little bit. And the way I see it, God didn't say be a preserving agent. Preserve your community till you think it's almost over and then give up. I think we're supposed to be that preserving agent until he comes to get us. And light is a revealing agent. It reveals the wicked deeds done in darkness. And I think we need to be very busy doing that. We have an election season coming up. I think Christians need to really step up. What say you on that?
Amen. Oh my gosh, I can't. If I could like it 1,000 times on social media, I would. Absolutely. When the church stands up, it's game over. And in fact, there's another organization I would recommend your audience check out called the Remnant Alliance. You can go to their website, theremnantalliance.com, and it's faith-based nonprofits that have come together to support the church with resources on how to get their congregation to stand up. Because when the church and the Christians stand up, it's over. Game over.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to ask you, how can people follow you? How can people support what you're doing?
You can go to my nonprofit's website, which is auditthevotepA.com, and you can follow us there. We have a Rumble channel on social media and take a look at all the work that we've done, and maybe consider donating to the cause if election integrity is your passion. I also have a Substack. You can follow me where I've told some of my story and my testimony and my thoughts on the current events of the day. And that's just tonishuppe.substack.com. And then the company that I work for is Patriot Academy. So feel free to go there, patriotacademy.com, to check out the classes that they have where you can get equipped and learn about educating yourself and saving the republic. That's what we're doing. Our mantra there is make saving the republic your new hobby. Get involved.
Amen. Well, Toni Shuppe, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to thank everybody that's tuned in online. Want to ask you one more time, like this video, share it out with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Head over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our watchmen. We'd really appreciate that. Until next time, we'll see you right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.